conduct this session, we have invited our two international speakers, as you know, in the proposal as well, Mr. Salil S, Kallianpur, professor, as well as health tech investor and a digital evangelist, as well as we have Dr. Rajneesh Negi, PMT India Learning. He started his career as a PMT only and still remain on the PMT. To start our session, we need some formalities. We have some formalities. So we have some respected dignitaries here in our forum. And one is from Nepal Pharmaceutical Association, Mr. Savin Sakya sir, and many of the pharmacists are here. So I would like to welcome Mr. Savin Sakya to the stage to felicitate our speakers. They show very well, and they are maintaining their lifestyle along with the digital interfaces, and they are maintaining their clinic and hospital. They are transforming in the digital way. And the second thing is retailers are also changing. They want to sell on the digital platform, that they want to utilize the platform to make awareness and they make campaigns. And as well as the patients are also changing. They want to complain in social media about the practice, about the medicine and all. But somehow I realized that we pharma industry are reluctant to change. We were operated on the 90s model, and still we are continuing that. So 40 साल पहले जो हुआ था अभी भी वही practice हो रहा है. Even we are not exception from other countries like in India. Many countries are transforming on the promotional platform and the marketing plan. But here in Nepal and India, we are somewhat reluctant. So to make highlight in this topic, the changing environment of the pharma industry, as well as about the brand plan, how do we cope up with our marketing plan, how do we transform our business in a new way, in 21st century way. So I'd like to hand over this floor to Mr. Salil S. Kallianpur to highlight on the topic and to give some information about the changing environment and the strategic brand plan. So I'll hand over this floor whole day to Mr. Salil S. Kallianpur, and I'll be sitting there and learning with you, Alangit sir. So let's cheer for Mr. Salil Kallianpur and
And on a holiday, you have come to spend time with us. I'm very honored. Rajneesh and I are very happy to welcome all of you. Thank you very much for coming. So today we're going to be talking about a few interesting aspects about marketing. Okay, so the understanding that I have is that pharmaceutical marketers are still not very clear about the intricacies of marketing or the details of marketing or the depth of marketing. You know, what we do is a lot more selling than of marketing. And this is not true of any country, it is true of almost every country. If the product that we have is not patented or it is not innovative, which means that we will have a lot of high science behind that product, you know, there is very little that you can do in terms of creating a differentiation or telling your doctor about what your product is or explaining the science behind it, because the doctor will say there are another 100 of those brands in the generic market, right? So how do you create a bit of advantage over here? How do you use the market? Okay, so before we understand all of this, I think we should take a step back and ask ourselves, what is marketing? Okay, what does marketing actually mean? And before we do that, I want to take a step even backward and tell you what to expect from this program. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today and tomorrow is not going to give you prescribed solutions. So if you think that I will be able to tell you how to sell your product better, no. I have no idea what your product is. I have no idea what your market is. I have no idea what your customers are or who they are, and I have no idea what to tell you. Okay, so you will not be getting any prescribed solutions from me. This is the way you should do it. You should have one visual aid, you should have 3 LPS, you should have some samples, you should have... It is very generic. It actually doesn't give you any answers. Okay, nothing brand specific. And so generally what we see is, why I have written this down is because generally when I do a lot of work in digital marketing, and when we talk about digital marketing to our friends in India, you know, they'll say digital US में होता है, India में नहीं होता है. Okay? इस दुनिया में यहाँ पे डिजिटल नहीं हो सकता है। यूएस में सब ठीक है, सबके पास आईपैड है, सबके पास वाईफाई है, सबको समझ में आता है। यहाँ पे इतना टाइम नहीं है डॉक्टर्स के पास कि वो डिजिटल पे कुछ देखें। सो डिजिटल विल नॉट वर्क। देन दे से मेरे को प्लीज गिव मी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस, गिव अस बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस ऑफ व्हाट कंपनीज आर डूइंग इन डिजिटल। अब फार्मा इज नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग इन डिजिटल, सो इफ आई हैव टू गिव यू बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस, आई विल टॉक टू यू अबाउट Amazon, or I will talk to you about Google, or I will talk to you about some other companies, and people will say ये हमारे इंडस्ट्री का नहीं है, because Amazon is not in the pharma industry, Google is not in the pharma industry, and so what they do is not going to be applicable to us. Now, if I tell you something about the pharma industry, then you will say that is US, that is not India, or that is not Nepal. If I tell you something that happens in India, you will say that is in the chronic category. This doesn't happen in the acute category. ये chronic में हो सकता है क्योंकि patient लंबा खरीदता है, the prescription value is very high, but acute में बहुत problem हो जाता है। If I tell you about acute, you will say it is okay in chronic, but it will not be in acute, right? And if I tell you about something in acute, you will say उस company का उस brand के लिए ये ठीक है, मेरे brand के लिए ये नहीं चलता है। Okay, so eventually what people expect is brand specific answers, brand specific solutions. Okay, so that's why I am trying to explain that it is very impossible or very difficult for me to give you any prescribed solutions, any brand specific solutions, or any best practices. If I tell you about what Sun Pharma is doing in India, and if I tell you about what Pfizer is doing in the US, will you be able to do that for your brand? No. So then what is the point of knowing best practices? I think what you have to understand is what is the next practice for my brand. And so for that you have to understand frameworks, you have to understand models. And if you understand the model, then you put your brand through that model and you are able to come out with the most appropriate solution for your own brand. Okay, so I think it's not so much about best practice. I don't know why people are so hung up about this best practice. Give us best practices. क्या कर लोगे best practice लेके? One company cannot copy the other. Okay, because each company has different business problems. Each company is in a different place. Each company is serving different customers. Their customers look at that. The doctor may be the same, but the way that he looks at an Abbott rep is very different from the way he looks at a Pfizer rep. Same. And so it's impossible for you to learn about something that another company is doing and try to imitate that in the case of your brand. Okay, so my suggestion is please don't look for best practices. Look for what is the best solution for your own product. Okay, that's what I help you to think about. What nobody has taught you in so many years, or you have not learned in so many years. That's out of the question. It's not going to happen. Because why are we here? Why we are here is to widen our thinking. Okay, to think about things from a slightly broader perspective. If you are too close to the ground, you don't see the full picture. And if you don't see the full picture, many times opportunities miss us. Okay, we cannot identify opportunities, we are not aware of the opportunities that exist. So sometimes we have to zoom back and then look at what the big picture is and where we are in that and try and solve that jigsaw puzzle. Okay, so that is what I'll try to do today, to move you back, to zoom out a little, show you the larger picture, and then say what do you think we should be doing to solve your problems. Okay, so we look at the wider industry, about how competition is doing, how you can use certain frameworks to measure competition, what you can do in terms of developing content, strategy, tactics. Okay, and then the final module today will be about how you can think about execution. Our sales managers could not execute it, our doctors did not understand, samples come per year, inputs did not come on time. Okay, competitor launched 10 new products, new molecules came into the market. We will have hundreds of excuses. But it will be almost impossible for you to answer why you didn't think of all this before you made the strategy. Okay, the important part of a strategy is to foresee those problems. If you have not foreseen those problems, then chances are that you will not know that those problems will come up. And if those problems don't come up, or you have not known that the problems will come up, your strategy is gone for a toss. Okay? I don't know if many of you are familiar with Bombay, but in Mumbai there is a place called Andheri. And in Andheri, there is a bridge that connects the east side of the city to the west side of the city. Because you have train tracks, right? For the traffic to go, you have a bridge on top of that. That's called the Gokhale Bridge. Now the municipality of Mumbai closed down that bridge for repairs because half of that bridge fell. वो अंग्रेजों के ज़माने का था. It was built by the British, and so it collapsed, and there were some casualties and all that. ये 3-4 साल पहले हुआ. So they closed down that bridge 4 years ago. They took 4 years to build the bridge, and with great fanfare, they opened it about 2 months ago. Now, what was the difference? What was the problem? The problem was the west side of the bridge was 6 inches higher than the east side of the bridge. So one team worked from here and one team worked from here, and eventually it was like this. So when you are driving, what do? You need a ramp, right? Or you need a jet engine to kind of lift your car and take it 6 inches over there. Right? Now they're going to close down that bridge and they're going to rebuild it. Okay, now who's paying for it? Taxpayers. Taxpayers, the people. Now, if this is, why was this done? What is the problem? Was the strategy a problem? No, strategy is on paper, brilliant. We'll start building from here, we'll have the 8 engineers over here, and these are all IIT engineers, mind you. So IIT engineers, 8 engineers working on the west side, 8 engineers working on the east side. Somebody forgot about some simple calculation. I'm not an engineer, I don't know how to build bridges. Some small calculation went wrong, and these guys built it 6 inches above. Okay, now that little mistake costed Mumbai a ton of money and is going to cost the current government, probably it will cost them their election. Okay, because people have been very, very inconvenienced by all of this. So again, circling back, the strategy is wonderful on paper, but if you haven't thought about its implementations, that strategy is useless. Okay, so that's what we will talk about, how to look at the market, how to assess your competition, how to understand what is happening, zoom out as much as possible. Then think about the marketing mix. The marketing mix is basically the tools that brand managers have. At the end of the day, we will have a little bit of understanding of all these 4 things. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about doing. So let's start off with what is marketing. I know there is a mix of the audience. There are several senior people over here and a few people from marketing, mid management people and all of that. So, but please bear with me because I'm going to be discussing the very basics. Okay, so this program was marketed by Diwakar and his fantastic team. Right? What were they trying to do? To let people know, so creating awareness. Yeah? To get revenue. Yes. So marketing is sales. Yeah, marketing is sales. Basically selling more. If I have creating demand, right? So creating demand means more sale, right? So there are several things like this, right? And so when I do these workshops in India, it takes about 8 or 9 attempts, okay, before the word customer comes in. Okay, and that is something which is a fundamental shifting of the lens that we have to do. The fundamental shifting of the lens is that marketing is not about our product. Marketing is always about the problem of the customer. Why does the customer choose our product? Because it solves some problem, right? It has some purpose in the life of the customer. Otherwise, how much ever you beg the customer to buy the product, he's not going to buy it. Yeah. Do you have credit card marketing here in Nepal? In India, it's a big pain. One of the reasons my phone is always in airplane mode is because every 15 minutes, some credit card company calls. Citibank, we've got this beautiful card, we'll give you this. I am not interested. I am not looking for a credit card. You call me 20,000 times a day, I am not going to buy your credit card. Please. Please buy. Would you? If it is a product that you don't need, if it is a service that you are not interested in, if it is something that doesn't make any sense to you, would you buy it? No. So is it about your product? वो सिटी बैंक वाला भी सोच रहा है वहां पे बैठ के, वो HDFC वाला भी सोच रहा है वहां पे बैठ के, HSBC वाला भी सोच रहा है मैं क्या बोलूं कि ये मेरा क्रेडिट कार्ड ले. What can I tell this guy that he's going to buy my credit card? And he'll say, tell me some features. He goes to the product manager. And the product manager will say, did you tell him about this feature of the card? And he'll say, oh, maybe I didn't do that. Maybe I should go back and talk to him about how we have silver cards when everybody else has blue cards. Okay? And then, do you think I'm going to be fascinated? Will I buy a credit card because it is silver in color and not blue in color? So product features, if the more I tell you about my product, the less inclined you are to buy it. You don't care whether I have a silver card or I have a purple card or I have a magenta card, whatever color. Right? And then there will be an innovative guy in the marketing team who will question this guy and say, why only purple and blue? Why can't we have 15 different colors? Or why can't we allow one more step forward? You would have heard about the word personalization somewhere. It is all personalized services. तो बोलेगा कस्टमर को पूछते हैं आपको कौन सा कलर चाहिए, आपके हिसाब से आपको जो कलर अच्छा लगता है उस कलर का क्रेडिट कार्ड बना के हम आपको देंगे. Will this work? My fundamental reason as a customer है मुझे क्रेडिट कार्ड नहीं चाहिए. आप उसको कलर करो, आप उसको पर्सनलाइज करो, आप मेरा नाम लिखो, आप मुझे EMI माफ कर दो, आप मुझे हाफ इंटरेस्ट पे पैसा दे दो, मुझे पैसा ही नहीं चाहिए. Why would I want to buy a loan? Why would I want to take a loan from you? Right? So marketing, you understand the point I'm making? You see a parallel in pharma. Mine comes in alu packing. His comes only in blister packing. Mine will be extended release. His is only immediate release. If the customer doesn't want that product, if there is nothing in it for that customer, if it doesn't solve that customer's problem, he's not going to buy your product. Right? So the fundamental point of marketing, and that is the lens shift that I would like you to do. I'm spending a lot of time talking about this because one of the biggest takeaways of today's workshop is that marketing is not about the product. Marketing is always about the customer. If you understand and if you spend time understanding the problems of the customers, you will know how to position your product. You will know how to talk about your product to those customers. And then there is a chance that people will immediately become aware. How many of you own Teslas? Right? Awareness doesn't mean that the customer will buy. Awareness means मुझे पता है, लेकिन I don't know how to solve my problem. My problem is to go from point A to point B, which a Maruti Alto also will do, right? And for the price of one wheel of Tesla, I can buy a full car. So why would I want to buy a Tesla? I don't understand what the problem is. I don't understand what the need for Tesla in my life is, and so I will never buy a Tesla. Okay, so the best person who can tell you about marketing is this gentleman. You recognize him? He is the biggest name, the godfather of marketing. His name is Dr. Philip Kotler. Okay, everyone is aware of Philip Kotler. Probably you haven't seen his picture. Okay, this is also a few years earlier. He's not this handsome anymore. Okay, because he's much older. 90-year-old man, probably 75-year-old man. Okay? Now, in this workshop or in this meeting, this was like me winning the Nobel Prize. In the life of a marketer, can there be anything bigger than this? I am not a scientist, so I am not going to win a Nobel. I am not an actor, so I am not going to win an Oscar. I am not a singer, so I am not going to win a Grammy. In the life of a marketer, what can be bigger than meeting Dr. Kotler? Okay, so, but the problem with me is that I am very nervous around celebrities. Okay, so we beg to the organizers, the people sitting on the top row, they are the organizers. The Pharma State Academy, you may know it. Right, so that's Dr. Swati in the right corner, who runs Pharma State Academy, and the man on the extreme left is Dr. Vivek Atanri, who is their mentor. Okay, so they were the organizers, so we had to, please, how many chances will we have of meeting Dr. Kotler again? Okay, in 90 years we didn't meet him. How long is he going to live and how long will I have an opportunity to meet him again? Okay, so please give us some time with Dr. Kotler. So I said, okay, we'll organize for 5 minutes with each of you. That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 3 of us and then Gauri on the top. Right? So 4 of us were external speakers and we begged for a chance to meet with Dr. Kotler. Now when I got the opportunity, so I am the type of person who, if I'm sitting in Mumbai airport and Akshay Kumar walks in, I'll say, hello Mr. Sonu Sood. Because मेरे को बहुत tension है, घबराहट होता है. I don't know who's who. Right? और end मौके पे I know Akshay Kumar is standing there. I know this is a superstar in India. I know he's a great actor. I know his name. I can tell you who's his wife, how many children he has, where he lives, सब पता है मेरे को. But वो end मौके में I'll say hello Mr. Sonu Sood. Okay, so I'm like that. So when I got the opportunity to meet with Mr. Dr. Kotler, मैं घबरा गया. अब क्या पूछूं इनको? बात तो करना था लेकिन अभी what do you talk? And मेरे मुंह से एक सवाल निकला. How do you explain marketing to people who don't understand marketing? This is a guy who has been studying marketing for 65 years. 90-year-old man. Let's say he finished his PhD by 30. Since then, he has been only studying marketing. 35, 40 years, he has 60, 70 years he's been studying marketing. Now, a guy like me goes up and asks him, how do you define marketing? How do you explain marketing to a non-marketing person? I thought, yeah. When I heard the question coming out of my mouth, I said, oh my God, what a disaster. Who asks Philip Kotler to define marketing? He's a god of marketing. I'd ask him how many books have you written, what awards have you won, or can you explain what is place in the 4 P's? ऐसा कोई भारी welcome सवाल पूछना चाहिए था ना? How do you define marketing? तो मुझे लगा नाराज हो जाएंगे. I thought he'll get angry. But he smiled. अब 90 साल पे क्या वो ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ाएंगे, वो भी मेरी वजह से. So he said, तो तुम्हारे जैसे बहुत मिलते हैं. So he smiled. Okay, and then he said, the definition of marketing. Can you read that? Like all of you in the back. So I'll read it out nonetheless. So he said, marketing is about building relationships with people. Okay, and then managing those relationships profitably. Now the difference between charity and marketing is that you make money from your marketing. In charity, you don't make money, not for profit. Okay, but marketing activities are always for profit. But is the profit important? Is the sales important? What did you say? How did you define revenue? Is the revenue the important part? Not so much. Before the revenue, you have to build relationships. A couple of things over here. Anything that strikes you as surprising in this definition? When Dr. Kotler defined marketing, कुछ अजीब लगता है आपको? He did not use the word customers. Okay, he did not use the word customers. क्यों? Why? Because customers are people who buy our product. Okay, you don't need to market to them. Of course, you have to market to them, but it is about building relationships with everybody. The holiest relationship in this world between a mother and a child. Non-obligatory. What does the child do when it is hungry? Khana do. Right? It will cry, it will beg, it will pull the mother's skirt or sari or whatever. So it will cry and throw a tantrum until it is fed. That relationship is essentially about you feed me and then you can cuddle me. Okay? Try cuddling a hungry baby. Will a hungry baby let you cuddle it? No chance. Okay? Now, these are jokes, okay? So, itna serious mat ho jao. Maa bete pe chala gaya. No. This is just humor. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that no relationship in this world is basically non-obligatory. I need something from you, you need something from me. What's your relationship with the father? You provide security, you provide money, I'm with you. Yeah, of course there's a lot of love, respect, and I'm not taking that away from you, but if you boil it down to a transaction, this is what it is. How many of you are fathers? 4, 5, yeah, at least all of us who are fathers, right? What is our primary responsibility to our children? Okay, so there is a transaction in the relationship. Most relationships are transactional. So the second part of that definition, that managing relationships profitably, is almost a given. If you are building relationships with a purchase manager in a hospital, or in the railways, or in a government office, or in a hospital, or something like that, do you think he does not know why you are building a relationship? Right? But who is he going to give his business to? Or a doctor? Right? Who does he give his business to? Does he give the business to the people who have the best products, or the people he likes the most? It's a bit of a dicey question. Right? Our answer is, oh, product तो अच्छा है तो वो जाएगा ही automatically, नहीं जाता है भाई. Otherwise, the market leaders in the country would have been the producers of the best products in the world. Which pharma company produces the best products in the world? Abbott? No. Pfizer? No. Yeah? So, have you heard of a company called Biogen IDEC? Right. It doesn't even exist in Nepal. So if it was about the best products in the world, then the people who produce the best products in the world would have been market leaders. Every doctor would have called Biogen IDEC, come to Nepal. In India, they filed for bankruptcy. They were existing, they were there, they had an office in Noida, they filed for bankruptcy, sold their operation and walked away. Because we have the best products in the world, but nobody wants to use them. Okay? Why? Because doctors will always move their businesses to people who they have the best relationships with. Your purchase guys will also do the same thing. Every purchaser essentially purchases based on relationships. What companies do you buy from? What brands do you consume? The ones that are the best in the world? कौन सा कॉफी पीते हो? Starbucks? Do you drink Starbucks? Do you prefer, no, you may not prefer, but would you aspire to go to Starbucks? Would you like to hold a Starbucks cup in your hand? Would you like to strut around with a Starbucks cup in your hand and an Apple iPhone in your hand and a Mac in your satchel and whatever else, right? We walk around like that. Louis Vuitton shoes and Dior shirts and Ralph Lauren, whatever. Why do we do this? Because they are the best products in the world? Starbucks coffee is the lousiest coffee in the world. Right? If you have drank Starbucks coffee, you will know that it is the lousiest coffee in the world. He will make 10 times better. Your mom will make it 100 times better. Free में मिलता है वो कॉफी, लेकिन हमें जाना है सुबह उठ के Starbucks. Right? Meeting करनी है Starbucks. किसी को मिलना है, you want to put out a significant other, Starbucks. Right? You want to plan a date, you want to plan a meeting, you want to do whatever else, Starbucks. What's the typical ambience in Starbucks? बहुत busy. Because my self-esteem इतना underground गया है, क्योंकि मेरे को कोई hire नहीं कर रहा है, मेरे को कोई धंधा नहीं दे रहा है, कोई पूछ नहीं रहा है, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. My esteem has gone so much into the ground that I have to convince myself that I am worthwhile. And if I have to convince myself, I have to then loan my self-esteem to these brands. So when I wear a Ralph Lauren shirt, I feel, that's good. Yeah, when I wear Louis Vuitton shoes, I said, okay. Then I go to a Starbucks, then I have a Mac, and then I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, how many of us have bought cars? Guardian? Any? We don't own cars? है ना? तो शर्माते क्यों हैं? It's a simple question. How many of us have bought cars? Any one person? Who decided the color of the car?
White.
The white to ठीक है, that's a consequence. But who decided के white? Wife. You said wife. What criteria did your wife use to select the color of the car? I'll tell you. I don't know your wife. Right? I met you for the first time today, yesterday. Right? So I have no idea who Mrs. Sharma is. But I'll tell you what criteria she must have used. She would have used, do you live in an apartment complex? Apartment complex?
No.
Yeah, of course, but is it an apartment or an individual house or individual house? Madam would have gone out on the street and seen the cars parked over there. Okay? And seen which color is the rarest. And then selected that color. And I'm not saying that, my wife did that. My wife went to the terrace of our apartment complex and then looked at the parking place and then decided that some form of magenta was missing. Okay? And so she went to the dealer and had a 3-hour conversation with him about how to mix colors to get a magenta shade and then bought one car. So the point I'm trying to make is that a car is never purchased for ourselves. A car is always to tell others who are looking. We are inside the car. We can't even see the car. We are inside the car. The color of the car is meant for the people who are looking at you. The model of the car is meant for the people. So we are making a statement to the neighbors. We are making a statement to people in our neighborhood. We are making a statement to others on the street. Right? Not be told that he is depressed. अगर मैं डिप्रेस्ड हूँ और लोग मेरे को आके पूछे क्या हो गया यार, क्या हो गया, सब ठीक है ना, क्यों इतना उदास नहीं हो यार, डोंट वरी यार, सब ठीक हो जाएगा, मैं हूँ ना तेरे लिए, डोंट वरी, डोंट. Hundreds of times he is reminded of his problem. Nobody wants to be told that they are depressed. Look at our visual aids. Look at the visual aid of our brand. Are we talking about how that guy can live a normal life? Or are we talking about how our product makes his depression worse? We are reminding the person again and again and again that he is depressed. And that is the exact opposite of what a depressed person wants. Okay? Now, these are some things that you should understand. So that if you change your communication from my brand is this, it goes on DSM-4, this criteria, that criteria, it elevates the patient's mood, it has this chemical complex, ये लोचा खत्म हो जाता है, serotonin ठीक हो जाता है, ये खराब हो जाता है, whatever, right? The science behind the whole deal. And after that you talk to the person and you say, लोगे मेरा product लोगे, क्या करेगा वो? डंडा लेके तुम्हारे पीछे दौड़ेगा, right? Forget about buying a product, he's going to kill you. Right now, if you need to do this, right, you have to understand, and that's the basic of marketing. The most inherent needs of these people who we are serving. And that brings us to the next question. Who are we serving? Without doubt, the first answer that comes to our mind is doctors. But we are not serving doctors. Our doctors are our gateway. They are what is their utility in the whole healthcare business? Just to prescribe the molecule. The diagnosis and the choice of the brand is what the doctor does. The rest is all for the patient. Okay? And so we have to understand that there are multiple stakeholders who we have in this whole business called healthcare. But we won't be able to understand this unless we understand what healthcare actually means. Okay? And that's where we start first with understanding the market. Now, when you are thinking about a market, and I've covered this, that's why I'm rushing through. So, the marketing concept versus the selling concept is essentially two completely different things. The selling concept was a factory makes a product. Okay? No, thank you. A factory makes a product. Okay? That product is distributed. It is sent to distributor, it's gone through the whole supply chain pathway and all of that. Ends up at the retailer, and the retailer basically buys it and sells it, and essentially the profit comes back to the company. Now, this was all nice when there were 4 companies making medicines. Now, when there are 400 companies making medicines, we realize that just making the product is not going to sell it. Are we in a market where I make the product and the product sells on its own? ऐसा होता है? नहीं होता है. Obviously it won't, right? There are a lot of products out there which are not made, which are not preferred by our customers. And so how do you get your brand to become preferred? How do you get your product to become preferred is what shifts into the marketing concept. And this is where we understand that what we are working in is a market. We take an outside in view. The selling concept is, I am the manufacturer of this product, I have made this product, now I have to sell this product. So we put the onus of consuming the product onto the market. And say, अब मैंने बना दिया ना, मेरा काम खत्म, अब तुम्हारा काम शुरू. मैंने प्रोडक्ट बनाया, अब प्रोडक्ट खरीदो और अब ऐश करो. कोई करेगा? Because Citibank has built a credit card, am I going to buy it? I'm not going to buy it. So those days are gone, right? The selling concept is almost dead. Except for products which are highly innovative, which have a patent, which have a monopoly. Okay, now when Apple makes a product, they don't need to sell it. Right? They immediately there is a demand, there's a latent demand for the product, people become aware of it, it's got that kind of an equity in the market, and people will buy it. Such equities don't exist for atta. Do they exist for atta? Do they exist for tel? Do they exist for dal? Do they exist? They are all commodities. Medicines are exactly like that, they are commodities. 1,770 companies that also make paracetamol. So why will anyone buy my paracetamol? And that's where I get into this whole pricing game. I will make it cheaper, then he will make it cheaper, then the third guy will make it cheaper, so I will have to make it even more cheaper, and cheaper. You hit rock bottom. Okay, that's not a profitable business, not a sustainable business. How do you shift from going down into a price spiral to making it a sustainable product? And that is when you understand what branding means. How do you create the differentiation? How do you actually go? And a brand doesn't happen from within our organization. A brand happens from the market. Okay? So when you start thinking about the market, where is the market for healthcare? Moved to the mobile phone. Because you have several apps, you have several such things that are happening, right? So it is important for us to understand how to define a market. And that market gets defined by the people, the customers. So we need to be able to understand this, right? And over here, that is the first exercise that I want to do before we break in another 15 minutes. We have how much time? Up to 15? 11 o'clock? Right. Okay, so to understand how would you define your own markets? If I look at other molecules, if I look at other ARBs, if I look at other antihypertensives, if I look at people who are having risk factors of developing hypertension, if I look at people who don't have hypertension, but could have people in their families who are hypertensive, who have a family history of hypertension. As you keep going out, as you zoom out, your market size starts to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you say, is 10 crore the right value there? Is that what I should be looking at? Probably not. I should probably be looking at a much larger business opportunity there and focus only on that. I don't have to launch product after product after product. I can launch 5 products in a year and make 150 crores out of each brand. The biggest takeaway from module 1 is that marketing is never about the product. Marketing is always about your customer. Now, how is the environment shaping your customers? What are the risk factors for hypertension? Stress. Right? Where does stress come from? Only from your manager? Only from your wife? Only from intrinsic factors? No, stress comes from elsewhere. Right? What if you heard that, okay, this is from an India perspective, right? What if Modi ji was to lose the elections? I can say this in Nepal, in India people will chase me, right? So if Modi ji was to lose the elections on June 4th, the BJP would not form the government. I mean, if you think like that, then you don't know what are the consequential factors of politics going wrong. If the wrong people come into power, or not, I'm not saying Rahul Gandhi is wrong, right? What I'm saying is, if the people you don't want, right, they come into power, there may be certain possibilities that policy changes will happen, which will adversely affect some of your holdings. Social structures, the consumer behavior has changed in a way where people are discovering brands, discovering trends, discovering fashion, discovering ways of doing business or ways of living life online through influencers. There are several influencers in the market who are telling you what to eat, how much to exercise, what shampoo to use, what body lotion to use, what your skincare routine should be, what your hair care routine should be, what kind of clothes do you wear, how do you get ready for a date, how do you get ready for an official dinner, how do you answer an interview. Everything, answers to all of this, not necessarily right ones. Okay, the second time I get that dizziness attack, I will say, अरे हाँ यार कुछ हुआ था. This is the second time it's happening. चलो कुछ करते हैं, चलो कुछ खा लेते हैं, कुछ पी लेते हैं. I take some action. The third time that happens, I'll say, okay, let me Google. Will I run to a diagnostic lab? Will I go to a doctor? Will I ask for any help? No. But what is our assumption? People who are selling metformin. What is our option? What is our understanding? What is our assumption? वो वहाँ पे उसको वो fainting spell हो गया, यहाँ पे उसने metformin का prescription ले लिया. That's our option, right? How does our visual aid communication come through? Our whole thing is based on what we think this person is going to do. Our understanding of the customer is very, very limited. Okay? Social structures have changed. People are looking for information from various different places. No doctor is dependent on a pharma company for information today. Okay? Most of the pharma companies that thought that we have customer relationship with doctors means CMEs. How many of you do CMEs as one of your tactics? All of you? Is it very easy to get doctors in? Yeah? मैं जाता हूँ डॉक्टर साहब CME सैटरडे प्लीज कम ताज डॉक्टर अरे तेरे लिए तो मैं वेट कर रहा था यार चलो मेरा सैटरडे का प्रोग्राम बना ऐसा बोलता है डॉक्टर कितना मुश्किल हो गया है आजकल डॉक्टरों को CME में आना क्यों बिकॉज एवरीथिंग इज अवेलेबल ऑन द फोन राइट उसको कुछ whatever information he wants he is part of community he is part of social networks he is part of his own network of people, individuals. WhatsApp पे काम करता है, इस पे काम करता है, उस पे काम करता है. Do your strategies have any of this in them? Are you thinking about how to reach out to them on WhatsApp? Don't say, okay, when we come to the 4 P's, and let me break this up right? What are the 4 P's of our for pharma marketing? Please prescribe, please prescribe. Yeah? What is the message that we send on WhatsApp? Please prescribe, please prescribe. What is the message we send via call? Please prescribe, please prescribe. What do our reps go and talk inside the doctor's clinic? Please prescribe, please prescribe. How is this different from Citibank credit card? Please buy, please buy. It's 2 P's and 2 P's. That's the same thing, right? Talking about our product, talking about our features, talking about how my product is better than cheaper than my competitor is not cutting ice anymore. So we need to understand how our customers' thinking is shaped. Okay, and for that you need to do this, you use this framework. You think about the effect of politics that it has on that customer's life. Okay, how is he thinking within the policy framework? How are there certain policies that are going to change the way that doctors are going to prescribe? For example, doctors in India are going to be told to prescribe only the generic name, molecule name, INN, and not the brand name. Will that have an impact on pharma? Of course it will. Right? We are promoting brands. Now our brands don't matter anymore. Suddenly our market completely disappears. From a technology, from a T point of view, do you know that artificial pancreases are available for implants? The US FDA has approved artificial pancreas. These are 3D printed pancreases using human tissue, which have been made by companies, and these are available for transplants within people. Now, these have been limited to pancreatic cancer patients, but very soon, this will go out to type 1 diabetes. What happens to that market? Oof. Right? Insulin, Lantus. My Lantus is better than his Lantus. Yeah, correct. The whole diabetes market. Right? Now, 3D printed organs are becoming reality. 3D printed hearts, 3D printed livers, 3D printed brains, 3D printed so many organs. Vasculature. But if companies can print vasculature, nothing is more complex in our body than blood vessels. Right? And so the length of that, if you can actually replicate and 3D print the vasculature of your body, then nothing else is difficult. Okay, so 3D printing is a technology that will come in and completely shake up the pharmaceutical industry. Do our strategies take anything into consideration? Is there anything, do we know how to preempt this? Do we know what to do in case something like this happens? Is there a change in our product portfolio that we must do? Is there a change in the kind of money that we are putting behind generic diabetic medicines that we should do? Will our strategy change as a whole? Right? All these answers you will get when you understand the market better, when you look at it from a market perspective. Because when you look at it from a market perspective, you are essentially looking at it from a consumer perspective, from a people's perspective. Okay, so when you think about it from a people's perspective, you are going to take into account all these factors that are changing their thinking, that are changing their understanding of the healthcare world. Unfortunately today, if we look at it only from a product perspective, we will be struggling for answers. How can I get my doctor to prescribe more telmisartan? And I have no answers because I'm looking at it from the wrong lens. It's not about how he can prescribe more of my telmisartan, but what is an unmet need in his business? What is it that he's struggling to achieve? And if I help to solve that problem, he will then pick up products that I am selling to him. I don't have to convince him to start more telmisartan, right? I need to understand him. I need to solve his problem. I need to help him to expand his business. And if his business expands, he understands that this relationship has to be managed profitably for me as well. Okay, and if you think that if I start doing this and every other pharma company, Nepal, starts doing this, then what is the differentiation? What different are you doing today? Do you have answers on the path that you are going today? Unlikely. Right? You are likely to find better answers on that other path when you actually shift your lens from product focus to customer focus. One last thing that I want to leave you with is thinking about from an industry perspective. So PESTLE gives you a full market dynamic. The 5 forces will give you an industry understanding. Okay, because the 5 forces are essentially, the first force is the middle one, right? The industry competitors. And in pharma, most of our brand planning does not go outside of industry competitors. I am making paracetamol, another company is making paracetamol, that is my competition. Is that actually your competition? No. What about another company who has created a service which is not allowing fever to happen? Or is taking care of something that is happening in a fever patient? For example, we did a thought experiment in NMIMS where I teach. 50% of the class, we made them think like your Crocin brand management team. Okay, so come up with a marketing plan for Crocin. This half of the team, you all are kids who have just come out of your house and you fall ill for the first time. What is going to happen to you? Do you all remember, have you all studied in hostels or stayed outside of home? Kabhi Umar mein, at some young age, you must have left home and gone out somewhere to a hostel to study or somewhere to work in another town for something. Yeah, you go away and then you remember the first time you fell sick. What were you looking for? Crocin. Oh my God, oh, if I had paracetamol, life would have been so much better. Was that what you were saying when you fell sick? Crocin चाहिए मेरे को, paracetamol चाहिए, paracetamol कहाँ मिलेगा? Paracetamol. Was that what you were looking for? No. What happens when you go out of your home for the first time and you fall sick? Who do you remember? Mummy. Kyun? Because she is the person who pampers you when you are sick. You remember all the time when she would come to you, she would touch your forehead, oh ho, and then run back, ठंडे पानी का वो लोटे में, she'll put some cloth and bring it and put it on top of your head. And you say, Mummy, fever ही तो आया, छोड़ दो. And then नहीं बेटा तुम लेटे रहो. Then she'll bring soup. 5 minutes later she'll bring sandwich. 5 minutes later she'll bring something else. She'll make sure that you sleep properly. Your friend will try to call you, she'll snatch the mobile phone from your hand and she won't allow you to talk to anybody. Rest or you feel pampered. At that time you may probably have felt smothered, suffocated. क्यों मेरी मम्मी इतना सब कर रही है मेरे लिए, right? But the first time you go out of home in the hostel and you fall sick, you wake up with a scratchy throat and headache and burning fever and all of that. Your roommate rolls over like this and, yeah, was fever है अच्छा ठीक. Then he'll get up, go out, have a bath, come back, wear his clothes, and then he'll look at you again. चल रहा है? बहुत fever है. अच्छा ठीक है, bye. Gone. And you're looking at an empty room. हैं? ये क्या हो गया? ये क्या हो गया? मैं अकेला हूँ. मेरे को कोई पूछ ही नहीं रहा. I have fever, man. Come pamper me. That's when you remember your mother. Paracetamol. Looking at Crocin at that time. Does Crocin come anywhere in that consumer's mind at that point of time? No. That's the first half of the group. Second half of the group. बोलिए sir. Crocin. How are you going to sell Crocin? Crocin is the greatest paracetamol brand. It has got super brand equity. They make it like the sun. And the whole patients are rotating around Crocin. Okay, सब कुछ Crocin. हम फीवर एकेडमी बना देंगे, हम ऐप बना देंगे, हम स्विगी के साथ में कोलैबोरेट करेंगे. जोमेटो वाला जाके Crocin डिलीवर करेगा. क्यों करेगा भाई? नहीं करेगा. चलो ठीक है. करेगा. ओके, हम ये कर देंगे, हम वो कर देंगे, हम फेसबुक पे ये कम्युनिटी बना देंगे, हम ऐसा बना देंगे. Everything about Crocin. जब बच्चा पहली बार बीमार पड़ता है, none of that even comes to his head. Right? Product oriented thinking, customer oriented thinking. If you understand what this customer is going through, that is when you actually understand how to position your product. You can think about several things that you can do. What are those issues that these people have? What does a 17, 18, 19-year-old child want when he falls sick? What kind of services can I give him then? Is there a toll-free number which I can call? Something like that. Not, like I said, I can't give you prescribed solutions, but you'll have to think about all of those things, right? Your brand plan is going to look markedly different. Your brand plan for Crocin with paracetamol will look very different from when you do the product shift to the customer. Okay? So over here, your industry competition is not the other company that is making Crocin. You are missing out on competitors who are not allowing fever to be a problem at all. Are they not a bigger competitor? Who are removing that whole need for Crocin, for paracetamol. In the sense, I create a full support program. Okay, maybe fever is a bad example. Diabetes is also there. Okay? Diabetes are all the anti-diabetic companies, all the pharmaceutical companies that are selling diabetes are betting on the fact that people will fall sick. We are all doing that. Wheel comes from Procter & Gamble, another company. Okay, so Wheel में जो कपड़े धोने का साबुन है, detergent, in that also they gave the same lime flavor. But they said that lemon flavor is basically to make the clothes smell fresh. Okay, because this is again a low socio-economic class. It's the same people, the same mill workers and all that who come with sweaty shirts and dirty shirts and all that, which need to be washed and they should smell good. Okay, so they don't use the comforter and all those kind of fabric softeners and all that. These are the kinds of things. So if you have to move from a commodity to a brand, now a brand that has got this kind of a personality, okay, this kind of an image, this kind of a positioning in the minds of the customer, how much will you pay for something like this? I don't care. That's what the customer tells you. How many of you drink Coca-Cola? How much does Coca-Cola cost? Yeah, exactly. That is exactly the reaction that I wanted, right? My students in NMIMS, all Coke drinkers, 100% will pick up their hand. Yeah? All 19, 20-year-olds, kids, they'll all pick up their hand. Coke का दाम कितना है? I don't care. I don't know. Right? So branding does a fantastic thing for a marketer. Branding, strong branding, will take you to a point of price agnosticity. What is agnosticity? Agnosticity is I don't care. Agnosticity is I don't care whether there is God, I don't care whether this is good, I don't care whether it's an indifference. It's an indifferent attitude. So when a customer can say, I don't care what is the price of this product, I want it, that is when you have hit the holy grail of marketing. Okay, so the point that I am trying to make is when you are thinking about price, are you thinking of it as a barrier? Are you thinking of it as a limiting factor to grow? Or are you thinking about it as an enabler of growth? You can think of pricing as an enabler to growth because then you will know that you don't have to undercut pricing all the time. If you have to undercut pricing all the time, you're going into a pricing spiral, a downward spiral, which will hit rock bottom. Profits will go for a loss. Eventually, the brand will have to get discontinued. If you're doing branding right, you don't have to go into a downward spiral. You can increase pricing at a certain point of time. Your customers will not care. Okay, but for that, branding has to be important. Now again, I am sure 99.9% people are thinking, ये दवाई में कैसे accept करूँ? ये soap में हो जाता है, Coca-Cola में हो जाता है, दवाई में कैसे accept करूँ? So let me tell you about a brand called Novopen. सुना है Novopen? Novo Nordisk insulin, right? Why was Novopen made? Because of the customer insight that I don't want to use a needle and a vial, or a needle and a syringe, a needle and this one, to inject insulin in public places. Now imagine you're sitting in a plane, or you're sitting in a bus, you're sitting somewhere, and the person next to you pulls out my injection, and then pulls out my vial, and then pokes the needle into that vial, pulls out some medicine, puts that back, shirt over karke, grabs his love handles, and then one. How will you feel?
Oh my god.
Yeah, you just want to get away from there. You feel very socially awkward. Social stigma over there. It's less social stigma to the patient, more social stigma to society. Okay? Patient has to take, because if the patient doesn't take, patient is dying. Right? He goes into a coma or something like that. They will have to take the medicine. Now that insight led Novo to create a product which had a pen-like look. Okay, a pen-like look, and the needle was so super fine and super sharp and super fast that you wouldn't even feel the prick. It was almost a painless prick, and you could just put it into your thigh, and you could put it anywhere. It didn't matter. You don't have to go for your love handle only, right? So those things did not matter. They overcame all those issues and eventually created a product that looked very nice when you keep it in your top pocket. So social stigma was completely removed. People would use it without any problem. They could even stab it into their finger. They could do it anything. Now, how do you sell this? The problem was, the guy who used the syringe costed 50 paisa. And the vial costed 1 rupee 50 paisa. Total cost 2 rupees. Okay? Novo pen 230 rupees. So what will Novo do? Who will buy the Novo pen? So just knowing the customer insighting over here does not help you to overcome the price problem. Okay? So Novo pen had to be branded completely differently. And so Novo started a campaign called James Bond. Now imagine the brand personality of a Novo pen. This Novo pen is a sleek looking, soft looking, handsome looking product, but it tackles the world's greatest problem, which is diabetes. One of the most dangerous diseases in the world. What does James Bond do? One of the best looking, soft looking, handsome looking guy, most well dressed, right? But in the morning, he fights the villains. In the evening, he is romancing his lady love over a martini in a tuxedo. Okay, so he fights the most dangerous villains of his time, and at the same time, he is the best looking guy in this one, right? So, is it possible? No, it's impossible. You can't go fight somebody and come back and look absolutely suave. But no pen, they gave that personality. They said it's like James Bond. Right? It fights the greatest disease or one of the greatest diseases in the world, which can kill people, and at the same time, it's fine looking. It looks so good, and you can use it. And when they started to build this whole campaign around James Bond, give it that personality, talk about Bond's ventures and this, that, and the other, people slowly moved away from their price problems towards price agnosticism. They said, yeah, this is a great product to have. Do I need to improvise the product? Okay, a technological innovation needs to be thought of in various different ways. One is to make your product better. Should I make my product better? Then I need to think about how I can bring in a technological example being I can make an immediate release into an extended release, or I can use a matrix formation to create some differentiation, or a dispensing inhaler like Cynoteck's inhaler is called the Ellipta. Okay, and so the Ellipta is it's very difficult to make. So none of the generics have been able to copy that device, and that device is something which is which adds to the brand personality of Cynoteck. Okay, so there are certain examples like that where technological innovation can happen. Technological innovation can happen outside of the product also.
For example, we have done recently for a brand Alpro, which was a new entrant for our company. And then, first of all, we won the trust from our prescribers. Then we added the key technologies in it, which has differentiated us from other companies. Also,
why did you do that? Why did you add technology to it?
Because we have got the recommendation and feedback from the
doctors. Okay. Effervescence, I bring in different dose changes now. Yeah, dosage forms or dose types. Okay, new drug delivery systems. These are definitely there. Now, one of the ways, I don't know if you're following the American market, the US generic market, but Indian companies that are selling in the United States have stopped operating in the value or the vanilla generic market, as they call it. So plain tablets, plain capsules, plain syrups, वो market में भी ज़्यादा कोई participate नहीं करता because those prices are very low, बहुत गिरते हैं prices. So what people are trying to do is increase the products. or bring in more value-added products. So NDDS is a very, very important portfolio that they bring out. They are starting to make products like inhalers, or starting to create products like transdermal patches, or starting to create injectables, or something like that, where manufacturing is slightly difficult. And when you get to a product which is manufacturing is slightly difficult, you're doing two things. One, your competitive clutter drops. The number of competitors in that category are fewer, right? Because it's difficult to make, and not all companies can actually manufacture at the price at which you can manufacture. Okay, so that gives you a competitive advantage, and at the same time, you're offering a better product into the market at a price which is acceptable to the market. So you get a higher margin as well. You can raise your prices. People will not ask why are your prices high, because they understand that the product is better. Okay, another example of the mRNA vaccine. mRNA vaccine, Pfizer ka vaccine. Do you know the name of the brand? Pfizer ka vaccine. Did Pfizer vaccine have a patent? What is the price of the Pfizer vaccine? None of this we know. But what we know is that this product was considered so valuable that it added $38 billion to Pfizer. $38 billion. Okay, because of that vaccine, which is called Comirnaty. The brand name is Comirnaty, Comirnaty. Don't ask me how they name it, but it is different. Again, Comirnaty, I don't know what that means, but Comirnaty is the name of the brand. Okay, it is a product that does not have a patent. Can you think of a pharma product? We can think of a pharma product. The Americans cannot think of a pharma product which has got $37 billion, $38 billion in revenue without a patent. Why? Because it is so difficult to make. It is so difficult to make technology, right? So as you add value, so what did Pfizer do there? Pfizer basically took a regular product and converted it into a value-added product. In rupee value terms, no, you can't, because there's no standard. There's nothing standard. Nothing tells you that if it's not a 100 crore product, it's not a successful one. It is very personal, it's very independent, it's very objective. Okay, so what is the actual definition of a successful new product launch? The actual definition is where 80% of your audience can recall your brand name in a spontaneous and unaided manner. What does this mean? This means that without you helping them, they should be able to recollect your brand name. Okay? Titan का ad देखा है? Titan घड़ी. Yeah, do they play here? Of course, there's a lot of Indian media over here. The moment Titan का music चालू होता है, they don't even have to show you the watch. Have you seen that ad? And that is not even their music, right? That's Beethoven's music. That's the Fifth Symphony or something like that. It's classic European Western music which they picked up and they've stayed with that for such a long time that you can actually, Ravens, if you've seen the Ravens ad, there are several ads like that which have a very typical music tone. Okay, just that music kind of reminds you of that ad. So a successful product or a successful brand is when you don't even have to tell them about the brand. You're walking in a mall, you smell coffee. Okay, you're walking in a mall, you smell coffee. Suddenly, you've never thought about coffee at all. Because in a mall, you're just having fun with your wife, girlfriend, whatever it is. You're just going around. And suddenly, coffee. And then, you walk a few steps further, you see the Starbucks logo. That goal wala and Medusa wala thing. You see that Starbucks logo. You can't even see the coffee shop. Okay, now, what is happening inside your mind? You're already making up a case to drink Starbucks coffee. You smelled the coffee, you saw the logo, and you go a little further, you will see the Starbucks cafe on the side. Okay? So sensory marketing in all of this is essentially about how they keep your interest alive, how you are reminded of a product even without being aided. No spontaneous aiding, nothing coming from Starbucks. No one is asking you to come and drink coffee in Starbucks. There are no people standing there. आइए सर, Starbucks में आइए सर. आपके लिए 3 टेबल खाली कर देते हैं. आइए आप बैठो यहाँ पे. No one is telling you this. Right? So that's a successful brand. So think about it like that. How can your customers begin to think about your brand even without you actually telling them anything? Okay, so your promotion has to happen like that. Your success as a brand player is largely going to be based on that. Okay, I talked about people and processes and the physical environment largely, but I'll show you in the service dominated sector, right? But I need to show you something in the physical environment. So, have any of you visited an Apple showroom? Now, Apple store, right? We are equal opportunity employers. We are best placed to हमारे इतने awards मिले हमको इतने यहाँ पे और सबके photo, and then another section will be मेरा stock price इतना चढ़ रहा है. This is my stock price. This is happening. This is happening. This is happening. 5 साल का annual reports, and all of that will be on the first page. Now, who's coming to your website? A stock analyst? If it's a stock analyst, you need to have all that information. It's important to tell them how important your CEO is, what is the vision and the mission of the company, and all that. If people are coming, if patients are coming to that website, none of them are interested in what your CEO is doing or how your stock is performing or anything. They want to find out about your products. So you need to be able to understand what is the functionality of your physical environment. Your physical environment is no longer physical. Your physical environment, how a person discovers your brand or understands or interacts with your product, is all online on his phone. Okay, so you need to have that basic understanding on how I want to engage with these people using my physical environment there. Okay, now please think about product place and promotion from a value-based lens. Okay, and most importantly, please think about adding the next 3 P's, which is people, processes, and physical environment into your marketing mix, because services are going to become a very important part of brand building. If you are going to move away from commodity towards brands and towards customer engagement, services become a very, very important part of the mix. So your marketing mix must have a combination of all of this. Please don't go back to your brand plan with that thought process that all I am going to do is promotion and all I have to do is visual aid design and LBL's creation. That's not going to happen. That's not going to do anything for your brand. Okay, think about it from a value lens. Think about how you're going to work on your customers. Who are your customers? What are the stakeholders? As we covered in the first module, through your market assessment, you'll get it. Second module, we'll talk about the marketing mix. Going forward, we'll talk about strategy and tactics, and then how to execute a full marketing plan. Alright? Thank you very much.